And talking education, the Nigerian Maritime University, Okerenkoko in Delta State, has appointed Professor Flora Oluwafemi as the new Vice-Chancellor of the institution. She emerged top among 6 shortlisted candidates, scoring 392 points. The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the university's Governing Council, Abdullahi Bardi, said Professor Oluwafemi was selected after a competitive process that spanned 3 months involving expert evaluations, public advertisement, and transparent interviews. The Governing Council thanked President Bola Tinubu, the Ministry of Education, Naimasa, and others, calling for full support for the new leadership. It also expressed confidence in a new Vice-Chancellor's capacity to lead the university towards greater relevance in Nigeria's blue economy ambitions. Professor Oluwafemi was the university's former Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic and former head of department at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in Ogun State. Public affairs analyst Olufemi Lawson joins me on the news this hour for more on this. Good to have you join us.
Good afternoon, Precious.
So I know you have been following developments at this particular university. You recall as of last month, there were controversies over 3 positions. I think it was the office of the librarian, the registrar, and that of the bossa. They had said, look, it did not follow a due process. So what do you make of this particular appointment of the Vice-Chancellor?
It is a good one. I am personally impressed by the fact that the current administration of President Bola Tinubu and also the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Tobolayefa, has given the university the autonomy, like we have often advocated for, the independence to use the mechanism empowered by the law to appoint the Vice-Chancellor for the university without undue interference like we've seen in some cases in the past. And if you look at the choice of the new Vice-Chancellor, I want to commend the Governing Council for the choice of Professor Oluwafemi. For those who may have known her before now, she has a very sound track record as an administrator. And for the previous controversies, just like you mentioned, there were issues that has to do with attempt by some persons outside the university to influence appointment, which are solely the prerogative of the University Governing Council as empowered by the President. So it is good that the Governing Council has successfully ensured that a new Vice-Chancellor has emerged for the school. And it is beyond the appointment of a Vice-Chancellor, especially when you look at the significance of that institution as a specialized institution.
Absolutely, and I want to get to that, Mr. Lawson, because I think last time you and I spoke about that university, I think it was another Marine Academy or so, students had gone on, to protest about the neglect of all maritime institutions in the country and how most of their trainings had to be done outside of the country by those who can afford them. And so how does this university then, key in, how can they key into the blue economy initiative of this administration?
Thank you. Thank you. I remember we discussed this during the protest by students of the institution some time ago in Lagos here, when they came to the NIMASA headquarters. You see, this institution, I'm particularly interested in its progress. I haven't followed, the progress that have been made in the few years that it has existed. And this institution, I think, is one institution that the administration of President Bola Tinubu must take key interest in, especially for an administration that for the first time has created the Ministry for Marine and Blue Economy. That is another, boom for the nation when you look at the potentials inherent in that ministry. And, one of the things that would help even the actualization of the vision of President Bola Tinubu in creating that Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy is our capacity to train personnel, to train Nigerians that will operate the marine and blue, economy sector of the country. So, Maritime University of Nigeria is a specialized institution, and I believe the administration should be interested and be committed into funding this institution, especially under the new leadership, to the extent that it can be more productive than just being reduced to a certificate awarding institution, to the extent that it can create the needed manpower, towards the actualization of the vision of the president, towards making the marine and blue economy sector a very potent one for the survival of our economy.
Absolutely. If we have institutions like this, we should have been thinking of expatriates in that sector. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to have you on. Political affairs or public affairs analyst, rather, Oluwafemi Lawson.